Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from DeltiasGaming.com, back with my first build update for Clockwork City, and it's my favorite of all time, the Guardian, a Templar PvP Healer for the Elder Scrolls Online. We got some minor tweaks and changes for those of you that are looking to pick up a PvP healer in this DLC, so I'm going to go over this in a lot of depth. I'm talking skills, morphs, gear, consumables, champion points, rotation on how to actually heal as a healer, and then how to level as a healer and or should you. So let's start first. Should you play this build? You might be watching some of these clips and thinking to yourself, man, being a healer looks kind of fun. And it is, but it's going to take a lot of practice, a lot of patience, and a lot of time, and you're going to be dependent on a team to facilitate you to kick butt, because you're not going to be killing a lot of people on this build. Is this the best PvP healer build in existence? I don't know, but it works very well for me, whether in your open world Cyrodiil or you're in Battlegrounds. So this is what I've come up with. Only be a healer if you embrace getting focused. I play this role kind of like a tank. I kind of lead into the charge typically. I'm not just in the back line spamming Breath of Life. So if you'd like to be up front, get nasty, and have your team depend on you for survivability, play this build. Don't play it if you don't like getting hit, because people will target and focus you down. So, how to play it? Let's get to it. Come on, that was still a pretty good intro, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm back with the intros. They're pretty epic. Hey, we're going to talk skills first, and skills is really kind of where you need to know what to do, how to do it, and why. So like I said earlier, this build isn't focused on a whole lot of DPS, though you have some flexibility. So you'll notice my back bar is pretty much the same as I've ran for probably a year and a half, because it's effective. The major change that we have is basically restoring focus. Now, a couple things about this. The reason I went with restoring over channel. Channel essentially gives you better resource sustain, magic every second, and then this gives you more protection. So it gives you minor vitality and minor protection, increasing your healing received, not done, just received, by 8%, and reducing your damage by 8%. So the reason that I went with restoring focus, I think it makes me a lot more tanky, harder to kill. The Templar has lost major mending, so no longer do we get major mending. I'm still butthurt about that. We get minor. Minor is still really, really nice, right? So let's not get too worked up about it. But we need a little bit more protection, a little bit more survivability. Now you're probably saying, Deltia, well, what happened to your sustain? Well, sustain is a little bit different in the game now, in this game. So champion points have changed drastically. So someone can light attack you and actually siphon off of, attacks. You're going to be needing to do more fully charged heavy attacks, specifically on your restoration staff. So you're going to have to adjust your play a little bit. For me personally, I'm going to get focused down. If I die, my team dies. So it's critical that I stay alive. This has helped me to adjust to not having major mending. For those of you that are going to play on no CP specifically or often, I would say, yeah, use channel focus. But this is the major change that I went with. Next ability up is Extended Ritual, 24 seconds. I think the single most important ability for a Templar healer, a Stamplar, whatever. Cleansing, being able to cleanse debuffs, heal, proc your minor mending, grant a synergy to people. It's phenomenal. It's my main bread and butter. I actually use this more often than I heal myself. The reason why is because harmful effects are what makes or breaks you dying. Debuffs, major defile, minor defile, poisons that siphon off your resource. So this might look at 3,700 magic cost and be like, wow, that's a lot. Well, yeah, but if you have 4 poisons on you, major defile, that Breath of Life that you're about to cast for 4,000 magic is a lot heftier than casting this thing. So when I tell other people, training them up as Templars, I say rely on your Extended Ritual more so than your Breath of Life heal. So while we're talking about Breath of Life, well, it's a spammable thing. Sword and shield. That's the benefit of being a Templar, and more so even over than being a Warden, is that I can hold block, I can spam a burst heal. I can also get an extra set bonus piece on my sword and shield bar. So other classes have to rely on the restoration staff, thus one less set bonus piece, thus not having the block cost reduction. It gives us a lot of advantage. So when we're in trouble, lock and block, breath of life. Now, do not rely on this as your primary heal all the time, because remember, it's not cost effective. It's the best burst heal in the game because you don't have to aim it. It tops someone off real quick and heals someone else. But it comes with a hefty magic cost. Do not hold block and just spam it, because that's not healing. Adric's Spear ability I have changed to Luminous, so no longer does it stun. It does damage, which is okay. It used to be a disorient, so it would drop block. So Zos nerfed that on me too. You can see why I buried my Templar, but we got it out of the ground. So this gives more resources over Blazing. Now, if you're gonna, is it like critical to have this one? Not necessarily. So if you're gonna do like DPS or something, or you know, you kind of want flexibility to jump on a healer and or spec it real quick to do DPS, Blazing. Not that important, but extra resources is great. The thing to remember about this is when one person activates the synergy to get resources, it's done for the rest of the people. So you'll see me like in the videos kind of throw spears repeatedly. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm calling it out in TeamSpeak or Discord and saying, look, pick up spears. So 2-3 people are picking them up. Thus, you're going to need to throw 2 or 3 of them to get them topped off for your allies. It has a cooldown too, so it's something that I typically run a mental timer on. 20 to 30 seconds is when I try to throw at least one, and then I try to throw it ahead. So if we're making an escape, let's say people are chasing us, don't throw it on top of you, right? You know your stam DPS is going to sprint ahead anyways. Chuck that thing. They'll be able to get that entire spear within this huge radius. So be a little bit preemptive with the spears, and you can't really use them defensively because they don't stun any longer. I am a vampire on this build like I have been for ages. Reason why Elusive Mist. It basically increases your movement speed. You can't cast while you're in it, but it grants just ridiculous damage reduction. The reason it's so powerful is you can't be stunned while using it, and it removes like disabling effects from your guy. So if you're immobilized, yeah, I can cast Cleanse and get out of it. But if there's 10 negative effects on me, I don't get to pick which 5 I want to get off. And so this will pick me up and it gets me out of there. Whether I just cast it and then I just move and block cancel it, or I let the entire duration for 4 seconds go. So you'll notice you can't sprint while you're in it, but it does make you a little bit mobile. So it's not the absolute best ability in the world, but it's essential for escaping and surviving. So once you learn how to use this properly and to cleanse, then do Breath of Life, once you've exited it, your survivability will skyrocket, and it's tied to this ability. Also, Undeath reduces your damage taken up to 33% of your missing health while you're below 50% health. Essentially, you get harder to kill the lower your health is. I think this is still one of the most busted passives in the game. It is incredible. Don't believe me? Test it yourself and see just how nasty it is. You survive ridiculous amounts because of this thing right here. And then Sword and Shield Ultimate Spell Wall. The reason I go with this, costs a little bit more now, it reflects projectiles, is really, there's going to be times where you're just going to need to survive, and all hands on deck for you. This is probably the most effective way to do it at a low cost rate. Now, you sacrifice offensive potential because you don't have an offensive ultimate on either bar, but I focus my build centered around on, can I survive primarily, number one? Can I give other people resources and keep them up, keep them going in the fight so they can focus on their job, and that's doing damage. So I like to fulfill my role to the maximum, and if I can use this, reflect spells, regenerate stamina, so I don't have to block, rip off a fully charged heavy attack or whatever to get magic back, our team lives. Another thing you can do with this is pop this ability and then bar swap. It grants the benefit regardless of what bar you're on. So if you're charging into a keep and you really want to heal for the next 7 seconds, you combine in a move ability potion, pop spell wall, flip to your restoration staff, massive AoE healing, and you don't have to worry about projectiles. You're not going to live through everything, but it's incredible for the cost. This is my sword and board bar, primarily meant for a couple buffs, resources, burst heal, mobility, and survival. My restoration staff looks very similar to what it's had look like in the very past. Lights champion, probably another busted skill that's going to get changed, but at 120 ultimate costs. Major protection, major force. Yeah, it's incredible. It heals you or a nearby ally. Remember, if we're in a 4-man team, good odds are that it's going to be someone who needs it, okay? So casting this for that 5 seconds, going in there, running in, ramboing in, bursting people down, it's essential. And it's 120 ultimate. So you can cast this sucker for 5 seconds and basically realize someone's probably not going to die. Critical damage, yeah, that's going to be really, really useful for your DPS as well. So it's offensive and defensive potential for your team. That's why I think it's one of the most useful skills in the game. Rapid regeneration, mainly we're using this as a heal over time to proc some of our sets. That Earthgore set that I've had a previous video on, you can see the little lava helm or whatever you want. It's really, really useful because you don't have to rely on really expensive heals when you're using this properly. And also during movement phases is a good time to cast this. You can see at 1800 magic, it's pretty cheap. Lasts 16.5 seconds. And it's going to tick often, so it's going to heal often. So what I do is I don't Breath of Life spam if I have rapid regeneration going, because I know within 2-3 seconds, if no one's beaten on the specific friendly, they're going to get topped off because of this. So rely more on your lower cost healing to get them up, or someone else splashing vigor on them or whatever, versus just spamming Breath of Life. It's more effective, more efficient. Next up is healing springs. So a couple of options here. There's 2 options. 1, combat prayer, minor berserk, minor resolve, minor ward. Great, great ability. 3200 magic, and it does it in a cone in front of you. There is a new Asylum Resto staff that makes your next to healing abilities really cheap for about 3 seconds, I think. I have the normal one, don't have the vet one. So I would rather use the combat prayer Asylum staff on a warden, which I will do a build on, and then I like the master staff and healing springs on a Templar. The reason why is repentance. Repentance only gives you stamina back now. It used to give you and everyone else around you stamina. That was really, really useful, and it might have been a little bit busted, so whatever, fine, I'm going to get over it. The thing is, stamina is at a premium. Resources that are a premium. And if I have a way with my master staff to cast ability and not only heal, but give back stamina, and you can see restores magic for each person I heal, it's very low cost if used effectively. So that's why I go with the healing spring route versus combat prayer. Another reason I don't use combat prayer all the time is because if I'm running with the warden or someone using slime craw or a nightblade or someone else that has the minor berserk buff anyways, it seems a little redundant. Yes, you give them some resistances and that's nice, but I would rely on something else for that. On the support skill line under Alliance War, Efficient Purge. So I've already talked about that we have a way to cleanse ourselves and others. Now, this cleanse requires the player to use a synergy. Remember that if you use a synergy, there's a cooldown, so you can't just use it over and over and over. You have to wait, I think, 15 or 20 seconds, depending on the specific synergy. So the reason Efficient Purge is useful is if, let's say, a Dragon Knight locks you in place with Talons, and 2 of your DPS can use a synergy for Extended Ritual, 2 of them can't. This is a way to remove those effects. It has a ridiculously hefty magic cost of 4,500, and it only removes 2. But it is still useful because of the radius, 18 meters. So that's why I use it. Also, having it slot on our bar increases our magic recovery, and we're also getting minor recovery here, and we get the major intellect or major magic recovery from a potion. So it's a really resource effective bar back here. I have my Adric Spear ability, Aurora Javelin, and this is mainly just for the stun. Since Luminous and Blazing doesn't stun any longer, I have to have an on-demand stun. And also this travels pretty slowly. It's a knockback. So basically it's a good telegraph to target someone that I want my DPS to target, like if it's a healer. It's just visually striking and they can see it. So that is the skill loadout that I have. Let's talk about the gear next. Gear! I've already talked about this in previous videos and it really hasn't changed much because I still think this is the most effective setup in the game. Now, what has changed? Earthgore. So, Earthgore I have a previous video on. I think it's way too powerful now and I think will be nerfed and or should be nerfed reduced because what it does is it provides a burst heal for 3 seconds, which is affected by Battle Spirit. 35-second cooldown, but it acts like it's a negate underneath wherever the pool soaks up. In major, huge Cyrodiil keep battles, it's just absolutely freakishly powerful. Even more powerful than Troll King. Now, if you don't have this, I would go with Troll King. If you don't have that, you can still craft another set or use 2 5-pieces. But I think Earthgore is insano right now in this patch. And until it gets nerfed, I'm sorry people, I'm using it. Next up is Cagernach's Hope. You can see here, I have the 5-piece on just 1 bar. So it's going to be on my sword and shield bar. This is what I use when I resurrect someone. So you have to specifically be on that bar to resurrect. It's so useful. Look, people are going to die. People are going to YOLO off, screw up. We all do. But it's so forgiving when you have this and the Alliance War passive for increased resurrection speed. Getting that person up within a second makes or breaks winning or losing some specific battles. You can take this a further step by using the sword and shield ultimate and then going in for a resurrect. Most people will sit there and try to, throw crystal shards at you or whatever. It doesn't matter. You'll reflect it. Unless they get up and bash you or stun you, you're going to pop them up. That's why I use Cagernach's Hope, and it's just a really good all-around set. Now, some of you might struggle with resources, and Seducer would be a good option for you. There's also a lot of other different sets out there, but I stick to what works. This works, and I don't see a reason for switching it out currently at this game. Only maybe for Seducers would I. The next set is Sanctuary. The Sanctuary set, Banished Cells, is where you can get this. Cagernach's Hope can be crafted, and Earthgore from the Bloodforge Horns of Reach DLC dungeon, and Kragorn. I still don't understand why people don't use this. I think it's by far the most powerful 5-piece healing set in the game when you're talking about pure healing. Why? Increases your healing received by 12% for you and up to 11 group members. It's just phenomenal when you factor in the fact that it's not a major or minor buff, meaning it stacks on top of that effect. It stacks on top of the heavy armor passive. It stacks on top of your champion point passive. In Cyrodiil, healing received, healing done, it's cut in half by Battle Spirit. So every ounce, every percentage of healing done, healing received that you can get will further increase your survivability. And not only that it does this for 4 people, but up to 12, including yourself, within 10 meters, is great. No, it's not an infinite range. No, it's not a perfect set. But I still think it is the best set if you're in a coordinated group that sticks together, bursts down players, and retreats properly. I can't beat it. Okay, restoration staffs. I want to show you 2 options. One, the Master Staff. This is from Dragonstar Arena. I have an infused initial heal of Grand Healing. Restores 2, 5, 8 stamina. That's an infused trait, and it's a lot of stamina, believe it or not. Anything you can get now that Repentance is nerfed makes this even more impactful. Like I said earlier, the Asylum Staff here, and this isn't the perfect version, but Blessing of Protection or Combat Prayer, reduces the cost of magic and stamina healing abilities by 27% for 3 seconds. So that obviously goes up the better it is. Now, I don't use the Combat Prayer that often, and I can manage my resources without it. But it's a really good option to swap Healing Springs and Asylum Staff if you're having trouble doing resources, if you have the Asylum Staff, and or if you're playing no CP. That's the way I would switch this out. As far as traits go, I like at least 5 impenetrable, maybe 1 infused, maybe 1 sturdy, especially on the shield. But other than that, really focus on impenetrable. It's the PvP stat, reducing critical damage taken. So it's amazing stat. Focus on it. You'll notice I have it enchanted with stamina. I really like to reach that 16,000 stamina. That's where I feel safe. Anywhere below that, I feel like I can't break free enough, I can't sprint enough, dodge roll, whatever I need to do. So I like to have a balanced stat pool, and that's why as long as I get 16,000, I don't care what I have to do to enchant it. You can see on the main pieces I use prismatic, so max health, max stam, and max magic. Really expensive, but they're very effective, so I would say go with it. And that's really the gear rundown. Pretty quick, pretty similar. Now let's go over consumables, race, and Mundastone. The Mundastone I go with is the Atronach. Pretty simple. Increases your magic recovery by a good amount. So I'm wearing 5 pieces of heavy armor, 2 light, and you can see I'm at 1600 magic recovery. That's pretty good. With all my buffs up, I get much higher. And the Atronach Mundastone is just the bread and butter of PvP Mundastones for my healer. There's a lot of different ones you can try, max magic, so on and so forth, but I stick with what works, and this gives me a balanced amount of recovery that I need to survive. Consumables that I use, I strictly, firmly believe on this build in Tri-Stat, max health, magic, and stamina. I see a lot of people running Witch Mothers, and while that gives you great recovery, max magic and max health, you don't have the stamina, so you're only basically 1 break free away of getting locked down and beaten the crap out of. If you can get away with using it, great, but I haven't found a way to do it reliably, so I go with the Tri-Stat. I carry a lot of different potions on me. The most important one is immovability. Combine this with my Argonian passive, I'm looking at 15,000 health every 45 seconds on demand. It also makes me immune to knockbacks for 15.7 seconds. Nothing that's changed in the game is basically you can only get stunned every 7 seconds after you break free. So you actually, you have more time where you're immune to break free. So combining this with the immunity and breaking free will really save your stamina. These are expensive to make, and I have the recipe on my website, but you get what you pay for sometimes, and if you can afford the extra gold, bring these suckers. Charging into a keep, charging into a flag in a battleground. Every second you remain stunned, split second, your team might die. It's worth popping this, charging in, not wiping. Next up, I have a tripod. So this is great when my magic's low, stam's low, and I need to heal. No brainer. And then also, I don't have a spell power buff on, so if my magic is just down, or whatever else is going on, I'll use these spell power potions. So that's going to give me 2 really important buffs that's going to help me heal for more. But when in doubt, I would stick with the basics, and that's the essence of immovability. Yes, they cost a lot, but you get what you pay for. Do I sound like a used car salesman? I'm briefly touching on champion points, and the thing I'll tell you about champion points, they change a lot, but you need to play around with it and see what works for you, specifically resource generation, and or are you going to play damage, or are you going to play strictly a healer? So working in the red tree, Ironclad reduces the damage taken from direct damage attacks by 16%, crit resistance 700, so that's a lot. The next red tree is Thick-Skinned, Elemental Offender, and Hardy. All pretty much the same. Moving over, and I like 30 points in this tree to get a couple of the passes. While you resurrect another player, reduce your damage by 15%. Obviously great with Kagranak's Hope. When you resurrect another player, increases their recovery by 662 for 8. Now, I don't have this in there. It's a great damage shield, but damage shields are in half, so I don't think it's as valuable to put 75 points in here. Green tree, there's some weird stuff in here, and really you have to find what works best for you. So let's go to the recovery. Why is my recovery so low? The main reason is this, you could almost argue that tenacity is almost as important, if not more important, than recovery in today's game, which is ripping off fully charged heavy attacks to restore resources, and that recovery is great, but also we have constitution for heavy armor. So 120 points, you can do that and try it and see if it works, but I like to save more of my champion points to reduce my stamina cost of things. The reason is here, Siphoner. When you deal damage with lighter heavy attack, meaning ripping off a fully charged heavy attack, decreases the enemy's magic, stamina, resources. That's a lot. So you are going to be focused on doing a lot of heavy attacks in between actions, in between healing. So if you're not doing anything, you should be channeling a fully charged heavy attack on your resto staff. Warlord, reduce the cost of break free. This is extremely important. If you don't have the stamina to break free, you're gonna die. Your team's gonna die. So at 15%, that is a huge difference. And believe it or not, I do sprint on my Argonian. So some of the stuff, once you get above a certain threshold, you're gonna reach massive diminishing returns. So it's good to spread it out. Tumbling, it reduces the cost of roll dodge by 13%. I actually do roll dodge a lot, especially if I have a tripod at the ready and I can avoid some damage. So that 13% along with my break free means that 16%, 16,000 stamina pool lasts a lot longer. It's very useful. And you'll see here, reduce the cost of blocking 17% at 44 points. So you can see that above 44 points, you really get into diminishing returns. So that's why we're going more of the stamina within here and then focus more on your abilities, passives, potions for magic recovery. Into the blue tree. The simplest way, if you want to just play healing, pump up Elfborn and Blessed, right? So this way we have it set up so you're not going to hit the maximum diminishing returns. You can spread some of this around. So if you want to play, you know, a somewhat of a DPS or a hybrid, you got some in the Elfborn. The main thing here is to get Arcane Well at 120 points. So if you want the no-brainer thing, Blessed, Elfborn, the rest in Elemental Expert. Moving over here, Master at Arms, 28, increases your damage done with direct damage attacks. Staff Expert, mainly is to get the 30 points, so when you block a melee attack, which you will be, you're going to do damage back to people. And that looks not very much, but it might be the difference between killing someone and not. And then we don't have any in the Ritual, and that's our champion points. Quickly touching on healing and leveling. Basically, I wouldn't level as a healer, right? If you're going to level as a DPS, and then respec, change your build up once you reach end game. The reason why is basically you can get through any content in the game with the very first 3 skills. Breath of Life, Dawn's Wrath, Sunfire, and Reflective Light, Puncturing Strikes, into Puncturing Sweeps. You put those 3 things on your bar, the rest of the game you can sit there and use it and just be completely happy as a pickle. Now, the way I level is weird. I put these 3 skills on my bar, right? So, got my range DPS, got my melee attack, and then I'm going to level all 3 of these skill lines equally, since I have 1 of each on my bar while I level. Everything I kill on this bar, gain experience. Notice I don't have to have a restoration staff equipped to get experience for it. So I equip a destruction staff because I play kind of a primary DPS. So I get experience with that. Also, I put a restoration staff ability on my bar, even with the destruction staff equipped. Seems odd, but it will level it up. No, you won't be able to use it, but it will level it up. So once you reach endgame, guess what? You have a fully max restoration staff skill line. I do the exact same thing for sword and shield. Can't use it, but I can level it up. And then the ultimate that I use is pretty much Remembrance or Rite of Passage. That way I can level up the Restoring Light skill line and get these juicy passives earlier. So my bar literally looks like this the entire game. It's very, very easy to play a Templar. When in doubt, Puncturing Sweeps, Reflective Light, heal yourself and others with this. You could do this with a Destruction Staff, not even have a Resto or a Sword and Shield, not even bar swap, and play the entire game just like this. Say you did that. The thing you want to do is get on a bunch of skill points. So the thing you always need to focus on is getting skill points, maxing out your passives. The reason being is you only have access to so many active abilities. Passives are what make you powerful. Once you get to endgame, your primary focus should be on maxing every single one of these class specific skill line passes. Even if you don't think you're going to use them, take the suckers because you will use them at some time. After you get done with that, we're going to be wearing 2 armor types, right? Heavy and light. Take them all. You might use them in the future. Take these suckers. Done with that, you're going to use 2 weapon types, right? So you're going to need every restoration staff passive, every sword and shield passive. Moving on, you got to get the race. Argonian, no brainer. Take all of these. Done with that, you see where I'm going? This is going to take a lot of skill points. Every single one of these vampire ones, but savage feeding. Then you need to work on your fighter skill, which will level up as you kill zombies. Get your lore books, get your passives here. You might swap in or light in, so that's why you need the passives. Undaunted, work on getting those dungeons, getting those achievements done. And then Assault Support. Now this will level up slowly, but you will get level 10, and it makes a big difference. Finally, Alchemy and Medicinal Use. You want those immovability potions to last as long as possible, and if you don't have this, they're not going to last, so make sure you get it. So you're going to need at least 100 plus skill points, not even including if you play DPS or do PvE healing or anything. So it's going to take some time, but if you do it the right way and get them all, you'll be a much powerful at endgame. All right, last but not least is how to heal. I'm going to narrate a little combat scene here where Gil and I go out solo YOLO and face us a group outnumbered and kind of explain to you how it is I heal, why I'm doing what I'm doing, and my thought process so you can apply it to your own build. You ready? All right, so Gil and I are just kind of YOLOing around. There's the usual fight here at the mile gate. Now, what we want to do is kind of break off from the Zerg and go get our own resource. So I'm trying to just ride through and, hopefully people don't follow us. Well, as you can see, there's a group of about 6 or 7 reds that end up chasing us because it's Deltia. They want to kill me. So blah, blah, blah. This is basically my goal, is we're outnumbered, and the goal and the objective is to survive. I'm not trying to heal Gil so much because they're going to be messing with me. So you see that red little big huge cloud? Right there, that tells me, hey, guess what? I have 35 seconds before that happens again. So I'm just going to line of sight. Time is my friend. It's not theirs. I know Gil will kill people eventually, and or we're going to get overwhelmed, or blues are going to help and show us up. So you can see I'm using my healing springs. I'm throwing my spear ahead as best I can. You see he pops that synergy right there. So I accidentally threw a spear when I didn't need to. I'm constantly casting twice. You'll see my rapid regen since there's 4 players or 3 players around, so I need to hit it twice so everyone gets the heal. My sword and board alt's up, so I pop that since I'm in trouble, recast, and I rip off a fully charged heavy. You can see that guy's not in our party, Ant Flo, but he's a viable member because we need all the help we can get. Gil already nuked one guy. I throw a spear to try to stop the res and apparently had flappers up and I noobed it up. So potions up, boom, you can see flood of resources. I'm doing good on resources. Stamina's at full, so I tap my rapid regeneration, and they're just going to cut them down now. So my goal is, now they're starting to whittle out. Gil's in trouble. That 35 seconds, boom, it's gone. So line of sight here. Remember, rip off fully charged heavy attacks if you're not doing anything else. It's not just about Breath of Life. Time is not on their side. They can respawn at the keep, but I know Gil will kill people. So you see fully charged heavy, my ultimate's up, you see that? Boom, resto ult. So right there, when I'm out of magic, if I hit a resto ult, I know for 5 seconds, probably one of our team's not going to die. And you can see we're starting to chop them down. Now, when it's 4 on 3 or whatever, we have the advantage. 3 on 4, they're not going to kill us. So that's how you kind of play this. Push the envelope. Your goal is to basically just be annoying. If they're beating on you and you're hanging out with killers like Gil and Ant Flo, they're going to take this entire team down. So you can see 2v7 or whatever, and then once we got Ant Flo 3v7, we ended up winning. So that's just a basic rundown of how I play this build. I have been PvPing a lot on stream. If you don't know, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through about Thursday or Friday. So come out, check the stream. It's on YouTube Live. You don't have to go anywhere else. So the thing about healing is it's not just about sitting there spamming Breath of Life. Yes, that's easy to do. And yes, you can do that. But you want to be able to manage your resources. Look, infinite resources doesn't help anyone. Really little healing doesn't help anyone. You have to find the balance between what your party needs. And usually it's kind of a tanky healer is the way we play it. So what I would suggest to you, if you like this looks interesting and fun, don't give up right away if it doesn't work like this for you. Because there's times we all die, look like crap, get nuked down. It happens. If it's important and it looks like fun, keep at it. This has taken me 2 years of playing this healer to get halfway decent at it. So don't give up if it doesn't come up natural. If it looks fun, stick with it. Learn from your mistakes. Keep on grinding. Keep getting them gains because, man, I don't know why, but I love being a healer in Elder Scrolls Online. Thanks so much for watching.